Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and let me ask you something that might sting a little. Why does it feel like you're always the one reaching out? Why does your phone stay silent even though you know she's online, active, laughing in group chats, posting stories, just not texting you? That moment right there, when you're staring at your screen, wondering if you should message her again, that's the feeling men hate admitting, and it's the exact reason you need to hear what I'm about to tell you. Before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video, because what I'm about to reveal is something most women will never say out loud. Let's start with a truth most men don't want to face. Silence from a woman is never random. Her decision not to text you first is not an accident, not forgetfulness, not busyness, not a glitch in her schedule. It's a psychological response, shaped by emotion, attraction, and the subtle signals you've been sending without knowing. Women are emotional communicators. Everything they do in dating means something, even when they pretend it doesn't. And if she isn't texting you first, there are specific reasons rooted in fear, desire, uncertainty, and sometimes disappointment. You see, men often assume that attraction works like effort. If I show interest, she'll respond. If I care more, she'll appreciate it. If I text her, she'll eventually text me. But that's not how a woman's mind works. A woman responds to feeling, not effort. She responds to emotional impact, not routine. She texts first when your presence lingers in her mind long after the conversation ends. She texts first when she feels desire, not pressure. She texts first when you've created space for her curiosity to breathe. But here's the mistake most men make. They create emotional suffocation without realizing it. They text too quickly, respond too fast, try too hard, predict every move she makes, and then wonder why she doesn't initiate. A woman cannot chase a man who is already standing at her doorstep emotionally. She cannot miss a man who never gives her a chance to feel the quiet. And she can't develop desire if the dynamic feels one-sided, predictable, or controlled by your anxiety. You're not losing her because you're not good enough. You're losing her initiative because you've unknowingly removed the emotional space she needs to feel drawn toward you. And once that space disappears, so does her impulse to text you first. Now let's dig into the first reason she won't text you first, and why this is happening more than you realize. She doesn't feel the tension or the pull. Attraction isn't just about looks or shared interests, or even the hours you spend talking. It's about emotional charge. If every interaction between you feels safe, predictable, and emotionally neutral, she won't feel compelled to break that comfort to initiate contact. Think about it. What compels someone to reach out? Curiosity, desire, a little uncertainty that makes her heart skip a beat. If you remove those feelings by over-texting, over-explaining, or being too available, you kill the spark before it even has a chance to ignite. Most men try to solve texting problems with logic. If I just send her a meme, she'll laugh. If I ask her question X, she'll respond. That's missing the point. A woman doesn't chase you because you're convenient or predictable. She chases you when there's a sense of mystery, when your presence leaves an emotional residue in her mind. And here's the subtle truth. The more you chase her, the less emotional space she has to think about you, miss you, or imagine you in moments she's alone. When she's not texting first, it's often because you've eliminated that tension without realizing it. You've become emotionally predictable. The second reason is fear, and it's one men rarely see coming. She may like you, but she's testing the waters, gauging your interest, and protecting herself from disappointment. If a woman feels that texting first might make her seem too eager, too available, or that she risks rejection, she will hold back. This isn't manipulation, it's self-preservation. And yes, it can feel frustrating, unfair, even confusing. But it's your job as a man who wants her to initiate to understand that fear and respond to it wisely, not with panic, pressure, or more texts. The third reason is emotional imbalance. If she perceives that the dynamic is one-sided, meaning you're always initiating, always putting in the effort, her instinct is to withdraw, not advance. She might like you, even want you, but the mental equation in her mind is simple. Why create desire or chase a man who's already chasing her? Desire doesn't thrive in imbalance. It thrives in tension, curiosity, and a dance of uncertainty. Understanding these reasons isn't just about decoding her behavior. It's about recognizing that texting first isn't a test of your value. It's a measure of emotional psychology. When you learn why she holds back, you can create the exact conditions that make her want to text first, without forcing it, pleading, or overthinking it. Now let's talk about how to fix this, because knowing why she won't text first is useless if you don't know how to turn it around. The first step is counterintuitive. Stop trying to force contact. I know it feels impossible. You're wired to reach out, to fill the silence, to prove you care, but that constant effort is the exact thing that's keeping her from initiating. Desire grows in absence, not presence. Space creates curiosity. Space creates tension. Space makes her mind wander toward you instead of away from you. Here's the harsh truth most men never want to admit. If she's not texting first, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of your current energy and behavior. You may be attractive, kind, and successful, but if your energy is too available, too predictable, too reactive, she has nothing to chase. When you pull back, you create the vacuum that pulls her forward. You shift from being a constant source of her attention to someone she has to think about, someone whose presence she misses, someone whose text feels like a spark rather than a routine. The second fix is creating emotional peaks and valleys. Women respond to emotional contrast. If every conversation is calm, neutral, or transactional, she won't initiate. You need to bring moments of unpredictability, intrigue, playful teasing, challenge, humor, and emotional depth. This isn't manipulation. It's creating a natural emotional rhythm that makes her brain crave the next message from you. Emotional contrast is what makes her text you first, without realizing why. Third, shift the frame from validation to value. Stop seeking proof that she likes you, stop asking questions that require reassurance, and stop chasing confirmation. When you operate from a place of inner confidence, she senses it. She feels the difference between a man who needs her attention and a man whose presence she actually wants. The latter creates an irresistible pull. You don't need to text first. She will, because she feels compelled by the emotional weight you carry, the magnetic energy you project, and the calm patience you maintain. Finally, master the art of subtle scarcity. Scarcity isn't about playing games, it's about respecting your own time and energy. When you invest selectively, when you show that your life is full, interesting, and independent of her, she begins to see you as someone worth pursuing. The harder it is for her to have constant access to you, the more she wants to create that connection herself. That's when she starts initiating texts without thinking, because desire has been awakened, not pressured. Now let's go deeper, because this part separates men who stay stuck from men who finally understand female psychology on a primal level. One reason she won't text first is that she's testing your emotional boundaries. Women are wired to notice how a man responds to uncertainty. Every time you reach out impulsively, every time you over-explain, every time you wait anxiously for her reply, you are revealing a lack of emotional control. That triggers a subtle shift in her mind. She starts to perceive you as reactive, easily available, and therefore less attractive. Here's the brutal truth. Attraction is emotional, not rational. She isn't calculating your worth logically. She's feeling it in her gut. A man who responds calmly to silence, who maintains his emotional equilibrium, who carries an aura of self-possession, becomes magnetic. She will feel it, she will notice it, and eventually she will take the first step, not because you begged for it, but because she senses a man she cannot easily possess. That's the power of emotional control. It creates a pull so strong she can't resist initiating. The second truth is that women mirror energy. If you're anxious, needy, or desperate, that's the energy she feels, and it's repelling. If you're confident, grounded, and emotionally abundant, she can't help but respond to that vibration. When she's not texting first, it's often because your energy is saying, "I need you," instead of, "I'm a man with my own life," and you're invited to be part of it. This is subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's what separates men she chases from men she tolerates. The third and often overlooked reason is her own internal conflict. She might like you, even be attracted to you, but she's balancing fear, pride, and the need for emotional security. She wants reassurance, but she also doesn't want to seem too eager. She wants connection, but she fears vulnerability. That's why creating an environment where she feels emotionally safe without taking control of the dynamic is crucial. When you demonstrate patience, value, and emotional strength, you lower her fear while raising her desire. She starts texting first because she feels drawn, not pressured. You need to see this clearly. She is not ignoring you randomly. She is communicating without words, testing without speaking, measuring your presence and your emotional weight. Every reaction you have, every text you send, shapes her perception of you. And when you understand this, you can shift from chasing to commanding desire, where she's the one initiating, not because you forced it, but because you created a magnetic, emotionally irresistible presence she cannot ignore. Now, let's break down how to make her text you first consistently, without manipulation, without games, and without losing your integrity. The first step is mastering your response timing. Most men make the fatal mistake of responding immediately. They read a message, feel a surge of hope or anxiety, and reply instantly. That immediacy signals neediness, not value. Women are wired to respond to energy, not speed. When you pause, respond thoughtfully, or sometimes even delay slightly, you create a subtle tension. That pause is like a spark in the dark. It draws her attention, creates curiosity, and ignites desire. The right delay makes her mind linger on you long after the conversation ends. The second step is building emotional anticipation. Every interaction should leave a residue in her mind. It could be humor, a thought-provoking comment, a challenge, or a compliment that cuts deeper than usual. Emotional anticipation makes her crave more. It triggers her desire to reconnect, to continue the experience, and ultimately to initiate contact herself. Think about it. Who reaches for someone who leaves no impression? Who feels compelled to text when the last interaction felt neutral or forgettable? She texts first, when her brain wants the high your presence brings. Third, you need to cultivate your own emotional gravity. This is the internal state most men overlook. Women subconsciously detect whether a man has self-possession, independence, and a life full of purpose. If your world revolves around waiting for her messages, she feels that imbalance. But when you are grounded, busy, and engaged with your own growth, she senses that you are rare and hard to claim. That scarcity isn't about games, it's about genuine confidence. And when she senses that, she will initiate connection because she wants to be part of your life, not because you begged her to. Fourth, allow for strategic silence. Silence is not absence, it is presence without intrusion. When you step back intentionally, when you show restraint and patience, it gives her space to feel the pull toward you. This is where most men fail. They interpret silence as disinterest and overcompensate, which destroys attraction. Instead, embrace silence as a tool to allow desire to build naturally. Finally, reinforce the dynamic with consistency. Every time you pull back, create tension, or maintain emotional control, you reinforce a pattern that triggers her desire. She begins to internalize the pattern. She texts first because it feels natural, because she wants to, and because it elevates her sense of connection with you. This is not manipulation. It's the natural psychology of attraction working in your favor. Now let's bring it all together so you can finally stop chasing and start commanding her attention in a way that feels effortless, but emotionally intense for her. The core truth is this: women text first, not because they have to, not because they feel obligated, but because they genuinely want to. And for that to happen, you must become the man who sparks desire without trying too hard. Desire is born in space, tension, curiosity, and emotional impact. If you understand this, you can step back and watch her initiate without losing attraction or your dignity. Start by fully embracing emotional self-control. When you resist the urge to overtext, overcall, or overexplain, you communicate that your life is abundant, your time is valuable, and your attention is selective. That emotional sovereignty is magnetic. Women feel it immediately and are naturally drawn to it. They start initiating because they sense that connecting with you is a privilege, not a routine. They crave the energy you project, the stability you maintain, and the challenge of earning your full attention. Next, master emotional contrast in every interaction. Humor, light teasing, mystery, and occasional playful challenge. These create emotional peaks that linger. You want her mind to replay your words, your tone, your energy long after the conversation ends. That residue of excitement and curiosity is the fuel that drives her to text you first. Without it, your presence becomes background noise, predictable and forgettable. Also, embody scarcity with authenticity. Don't overinvest in validation or immediate replies. Pursue your interests, your goals, and your own life. When you do this, she subconsciously measures your value higher because you are not dependent on her approval. Scarcity here is not about manipulation. It's about living fully, maintaining your energy, and letting her chase naturally. She will text first because her desire has been awakened, not because you engineered it superficially. Finally, be patient and consistent. Realize that attraction is a slow psychological game, not a checklist of text messages. When you combine emotional control, anticipation, tension, and scarcity, you create a dynamic where she initiates because she wants to, because she's intrigued, and because she senses a man of true value. Over time, this pattern becomes self-reinforcing. Remember, men, it's never about begging, convincing, or overexerting. It's about understanding female psychology deeply, aligning your energy, and letting natural desire emerge. Once you internalize these principles, she will start texting first, not as a favor, not as a test, but because she cannot resist the emotional gravity you create. And that, my friend, is the difference between chasing someone and being a man she can't wait to reach for.